Okay, very cool. So I am so excited you guys are all here. We are so excited to have Monica, who is a member of our clinical advisory board, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about what she does. But we are so excited to have you, Monica, to present to the campus captains today, and I'm looking forward to hearing everything you have to say about confidence and communication. So yeah, let me get your slides up and ready, and we can go ahead and get started. Okay. Monica, I'm seeing present and record.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Maybe just go on the bottom and you see like the expander.
yeah.
Maybe try that.
Let's see. Ah,
There
perfect.
you
Okay.
go. Okay.
Very cool. Well, I will let you get started.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining me tonight or this evening. My name is Monica Chernoff. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist located in California. Do we have any California folks in here? Well, cool. Okay. Also, during this presentation, feel free to put reactions. Oh, I see a heart and a clapping emoji. Very cool. Feel free to send any questions, emojis in the chat. I want you guys to be involved as much as possible. I know you guys are all athletes and you have crazy schedules, so I appreciate you being here. And I am just super excited to be talking about confidence. And this has been a really hot topic with a lot of the athletes I work with. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but I work with mostly student athletes. That's my specialty. And confidence is always an issue. It is always something people are struggling with, whether it comes to who they are in their sports, because being an athlete is really hard. There's a lot of pressure. So I'm so excited to get into this. And throughout this presentation, there's going to be an activities throughout it. So please have a piece of paper, a pencil, or a pen so you guys can join along. So yeah. Okay, next slide. So as mentioned, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but I wanted to share a little bit about my journey. I don't know if you could tell in the photo, but my sport was water polo. Do we have any aquatic or water polo athletes? Okay, very cool. I see a heart. Awesome. Okay, amazing. Oh, so glad to see it. So yes, my sport was water polo. And at first, when I was a kid, my confidence was super low. I was literally the slowest person in my PE class. I sucked at soccer. And as a core belief, I never thought I was going to be a decent athlete. And my journey with confidence has come a long way. And eventually through swimming and water polo, I found confidence in the pool, but also water polo has helped me confidence in who I am as a human being. So I played at Occidental College. I also played on the Philippine national team. And I love working with student athletes to try to find their confidence. So that's a little bit who I am. And next slide, please. So for the first thing I want to ask you guys, and on your sheet of paper, I want you to write down one athlete or a couple athletes that you look up to that you think like, oh my gosh, this person is so confident. Like I look at this person and I'm like, this person is super confident. So I want you to write that person down on your sheet of paper. Okay, and I would also love to hear some who you guys wrote down. So feel free to send in the chat who you guys wrote down. Okay, Kobe Bryant, very cool. He's a classic. Cristiano Ronaldo. Stephen Curry. Ayana Mayer, love her. Katie Ledecky, Lamar Jackson, Jordan Chiles. Wow, so many. AJ Brown, Katie Ledecky, Katie. Awesome. So many. I saw sports therapists, love that. Very cool. Okay, love how you guys are sharing so many of the athletes you look up to who are confident. Okay, so next slide, please. Thank you, Kelsey. Okay, so now I want you to think about what are some qualities that those people have. So I want you to write down three qualities that you think that this person has that makes them confident. Oh, and this is just any sheet of paper you have. It's not a specific piece of paper, just a blank sheet of paper that you can write down throughout this presentation. Okay, so you have the person in mind, and I want you to write down three qualities that this professional athlete or person has. Okay, leadership, vocal, they're loud. Okay, yes, and feel free to send in the chat. I would love to see what you guys wrote down. Taking big shots, grit, confident, consistency, encouraging, composed, disciplined, passionate, leadership. Wow, love how you all are sending them. Honest, compassion, hardworking, figure things out. So there's endless other qualities that makes a person confident. But one thing that I'm noticing a theme in the chat is that they're not perfect. I'm noticing people are not sending in chat that they never ever make mistakes, right? There's a lot of people who are sending the chat that are qualities that make them who you are as a person and how they're looked up to. And that these are qualities that you can work on and that it's in your control and that's something that you can have yourself. So I want you to keep those qualities in mind and I want you to keep looking at it and reminding yourself, okay, are these qualities or things that I'm working on myself as well? Okay, next slide. Okay, so the people I had in mind were these two people. Does anybody know who these people are? One is a swimmer and one is a from a movie. It's based off a true story. Okay. We see some hearts. So this is Diana Nyad. And if you guys don't know who Diana Nyad is, she is the first person to complete a swim from Cuba to Florida without the protection of a shark cage. So it's was literally insane. There's a documentary on Netflix, and as you see in the photo, she's not this young college athlete. I think she was around in her 60s, and when she wanted to do this race, everybody thought she was crazy. Everyone was telling her, like, there is no way you're doing this. Why the heck are you doing this in the first place? And even sports physicians and professionals were like, this is physically impossible. Like, you are going to pass out. It is bad for your health. There's no way you can do it. But with Diana Nyad, she did not care. She blocked out the noise and she completed it and she did it on her own. It took time, it took effort. But I think one big part about confidence is that she had a huge strong sense of belief, and it was very internal, not external. So I'm going to go over the qualities and specifically what confidence looks like. But Diana Nyad is a person I always think about. She literally did the impossible, and her story is very inspirational. Okay, so the second one, yes, you guys are right. It is the movie from Catch Me If You Can. and Leonardo DiCaprio stars as a con man. And he basically pretends to be a pilot, he pretends to be a surgeon, and he literally had no experience at all, but was able to fool people to have these roles and to be like inspired. I'm not saying you guys should be a con man at all, but I think what I want to take away from this movie is that sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. And again, confidence is sometimes not 100% about experience. It's more about who you are and believing in yourself. And there's a difference between competence, right? You have to be competent in something. Leonardo DiCaprio did not have competence. It was illegal. It was unethical what he was doing. But I think one thing that we can take away is that confidence can sometimes be about faking till you're making it sometimes. So, yeah. Okay, next slide. So, those are just a couple examples. And so, also, when we look at confidence, when you look at these people, the people you wrote down, you probably see the things above the iceberg. You see their successes, you see their trophies, you see their gold medals. I see you guys wrote down Katie Ledecky a lot. When we think of confident people, we think about what they succeeded in. We see that they have all these sponsorships, and all the amazing things. But we do not see everything that's under the hard work, the determination, the tears, the growth mindset, the sacrifices, the struggles you have in relationships. We don't see that, right? A media is not going to cover the whole picture of an athlete's story and what got them to become confident. And here's the thing, when we look at confidence, we get jealous of the success. We want to be the qualities of they are. We want to have the fame, the fortune, but we don't get jealous of their anxiety. We don't get jealous of their hardships. We don't want the other things that come with it at times. So I think we have to realize that confidence is about being perfect all the time, being successful all the time. It's also a big picture of all the sacrifices and all the things that makes them a human being, navigating this journey as an athlete as well. Okay, so next slide. So I want you to go back to your piece of paper, and I want you to write down 3 ways that you may struggle with confidence that you want to improve in. So I want you to write down 3 things that you are struggling with your own confidence. That can be in your sport, it can even be in school, it can be in social situations, it could be anything. So I want you to write down these 3 things, and throughout this presentation, you're going to look back on it. Okay. And also, if anyone feels comfortable, I would love to see what you guys wrote. So feel free to send what you wrote in the chat too, some of your responses. Okay, we got overthinking, fear of failure, discouragement, perfectionism, comparing yourself to others, self-doubt, negative self-talk, comparison, letting teammates down, trusting your abilities, thinking you're not good enough for the team, comparison, lots of comparison. So I'm seeing lots of similar themes. Fear of failure, overanalyzing bad plays. So, okay, feel free to continue to send them in, but I do want to acknowledge that the first step of becoming better at something or becoming more confident in something is to be aware. So many confident people are in denial of their growth spots. And being aware is the first step. And confident people are also very have humility. They know what they need to work on. They know what's not working for them. And so if you have to have awareness first and also tell yourself that, it can be very painful. It can be really hard to tell yourself like, yeah, like I am really struggling with anxiety. I am really struggling with self-talk. It can be really hard, like admitting that to yourself as an athlete, especially with the message of athletes have to be perfect, athletes have to be perform, we have to be tough. So just you writing that on that piece of paper and also brave enough to send in the chat is a huge first step. Okay, so we're gonna look back to that. So next slide, please. Okay, so before going into the specifics of what confidence looks like, I first want to have a very important conversation between mental toughness versus mental health. So when we think about confidence, sometimes people ask me, is confidence a mental health issue or is it more a part of being mentally tough? And the answer is it's both, right? Mental health and mental toughness are very, very important to have as an athlete. But sometimes as athletes, it can be very difficult to distinguish between the two. And I think you guys may have joined Dr. T and Dr. Cade on some of these topics, but just as a review, mental health and mental toughness is very important. But sometimes with the stigma of athlete mental health, it's very easy for athletes to neglect mental health. I mean, that's why the Hidden Opponent organization was created in the first place. Athletes are taught to suck things up. Athletes, it's very scary and very hard to open up about your struggles, but yet mental health is so, so important. Mental health affects how we view the world. It affects how we eat. It affects our self-talk. It affects our behaviors. It affects our social relationships and the quality of our own lives. And so if your mental health is not at a stable place, then how the heck can you be confident in high pressuring situations, in situations where coaches are yelling at you or screaming at you, where there's a lot of pressure on the lines? So, one of the very first steps of becoming confident is not neglecting the mental health piece. One of the first steps to be confident is to honor your mental health, right? Is to honor your mental health and take caring of it in a way so you can feel good about yourself in your sports. But here's the thing, a lot of athletes are really scared that if I take care of my mental health, then I'm going to be way too soft. I'm just going to pay attention to my feelings. And that's not the case at all. And so this is where here the mental toughness part comes in. So mental health, one of my favorite quotes from a sports psychologist, Dr. Michael Gervais, not sure some of you guys know him, but he's amazing. He says that mental health is the bridge to mental toughness. So once your mental health is stable and at a good place, then you can focus on mental toughness too. And so I think this gap is very important and to acknowledge that, you know, confidence looks like in both. So yeah. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now we're going to talk about specifically confidence. And I want to ask you guys, what do you think the definition of confidence is? Any guesses? Feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself or send the chat. But I think we talk about confidence, confidence, confidence all the time, but we don't really know how to define it. And if we can't define it, then we don't know what we're working towards or what framework you're approaching it. Okay. So we have like being bold, knowing who you are and being proud of that, full trust in one's abilities, belief in your ability, knowing and trusting what you can and cannot do, unlimited belief and inner belief. Wow, you all know some pretty, y'all are got this. Okay.
Monica, we do have one hand up. Can
Oh,
you go
yes.
ahead and
Go
share what
ahead.
you're gonna?
I yeah, so I think confidence is knowing yourself that you're a flawed person and still choosing to continue to show up and um continue doing what you're doing. So this is in and out of the water too.
Mhm.
Despite that you make mistakes, you still continue doing what you're doing.
Totally. It's not about like predicting the end result. It's more about committing to the process no matter what. I love it. Um, okay. Yes, and thank you all for all your submissions. So next slide. So the definition is so the definition of confidence and how I work with athletes is the thinking that I have the skills and abilities to succeed. So a lot of you wrote had that down already in the submissions, but please write this definition down below the things. And I want you to look at the things you wrote down that you were struggling with and reflect, have I been viewing confidence this way? Um, so this definition is really specific. Because confidence is not about predicting, am I going to win or am I going to lose? It's not about knowing how things are going to go or about predicting the future. I mean, no matter what, we can't predict the future. We can't 100% predict the outcome. You never know. You know, Olympians work so hard in their craft, in their sport, and they go to compete and you know, at the end of the day, they don't really know what the result is, but that is not why they compete. They are committed to the process no matter what. So this definition is really specific because it's the goal of confidence is to manage your belief that you have on yourself. It's do you have a chance? It's about believing in yourself in times when others don't. Okay. I see a Okay, so Morgan, I do want to say, how can I have confidence without coming off as cocky or having too much big of an ego? That's a great question, Morgan. And that's why I put Leonardo DiCaprio as an example in the beginning. He is a person who is way too cocky. And so the difference between confidence and cockiness is confident people, they number one, they have humility. They know what they need to work on. And number two, they have the competence, right? I don't know if you guys know what competence is, but competence means, okay, if you go to a doctor, right? If you go to a doctor, they have the competence to be your doctor because they went to medical school and they went to had hours of training. So it's kind of like the factual things that a person has done to earn that spot. And that's the same thing with athletes. So, you know, having competence is knowing that you have done the work and you have put in the effort. So confident people value that. Cocky people are like, oh no, I got this. I got this. Like, whatever. I never done the work, but I deserve it. So I think that maybe gives the balance of confidence, people, it's both. And I'll go into that more too, but great question. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we talked about the definition of confidence. Now, I want to ask you, where do you think confidence comes from? There's people that say confidence is genetic. People say confidence comes from experience. People say confidence comes from certain things like self-talk. So please send in the chat where your ideas of what confidence comes from. Okay, lots of preparation. I heard self-talk, experience, trial and error, failing, experiences, mindset, preparation. your actions. Love it. So the number one thing I want you guys to take away is there's no magic wand that makes a person confident. Like when I worked with athletes or heard professional athletes speak, it's not like, oh, this one experience, boom, made me confident. It's multiple things at once. And it's kind of like, I kind of like to frame it like one spaghetti noodle leading off of each other. So sometimes it's experience, sometimes it's self-talk, sometimes it's a failure and coming back from it. Sometimes it's support from teammates. And it's just one thing leading off each other, and there's no like magic formula. Um, but here are some three main things that confidence comes from. So I'm going to go over the first one. So next slide. Okay, so the first thing is confidence comes from it is a skill, right? And this is really important to think about. Confidence is a skill. So when we think about emotional intelligence, it is not something that people are born with. Babies do not come out of the womb with an emotional vocabulary up their sleeve, or they don't come out of the womb being super mature. Confidence and emotional intelligence is a skill that you invest in. And so sometimes people think, well, confidence is just this natural thing. No, it is not. It is something you work on. You are dedicated to work on yourself. It's something you invest in. And it is a skill that is built through these two things. Number one is reps and sets. So that's what I mean by preparation, is preparing yourself, practicing. And the second one is self-talk. Self-talk is huge when you are working on confidence, because you have to believe in yourself. You have to recognize what are the things you're telling yourself in your brain. And when we think about it, whenever you have a negative thought or um, what happens is your brain starts to scan that information to look at examples that are true to that negative thought. And so our perception is our reality. And so our self-talk is so, so important when it comes to confidence. And also, confidence is earned through preparation. It also comes from resilience. So here's one of my favorite quotes. And so it says, I too am afraid of falling to my death. It's just that I'm confident I'm not going to fall off because I've done the prep and put in the work. So does anybody have a guess on who this quote is or what sport this is? Just from the quote, anybody? Rock climbing. Yes, Josephine. So yes, this is a rock climber. Yes, the free climber. It's okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Alex Honnold. Amazing. You guys are awesome. So this is Alex Honnold, and this is his quote. And I think we can learn so, so much about confidence when it comes to like high intense sports like big wave surfing and rock climbing and skydiving and really all these big sports where if you make a mistake, you can be injured, it can risk your life. And I think his quote means so, so much when we're talking about confidence, because Alex doesn't defy fear. He respects it. It's not flashy or denial of risk. It is grounded in preparation, hours of practice, and he doesn't climb without fear. He climbs because he's earned the right to trust himself. And so that's the thing. Confidence doesn't mean the absence of fear. It's knowing at the end of the day, you've trained, you worked hard, and you are also great with your self-talk. And, confidence isn't this like conditional thing. It doesn't magically happen when you have the perfect performance or win. It's knowing that no matter what, you've done the work, you've stayed the course, and you've earned the right to trust yourself. So I think too, confidence also comes in resilience, and it's steadying the belief that whatever happens, you'll be ready because you're prepared for both outcomes. So that is one part of confidence. Um, and so feel free to write down, maybe like looking back at the three things you wrote down, like, what is maybe one of these things I may need to remind myself in? Um, do I need to remind myself that confidence is earned through preparation, it's earned through self-talk, it's earned through resilience? Just reminding you things of that. Okay, next slide. Okay. So the second one is confidence is staying curious under pressure. So you all are all athletes. Raise your hand if you struggle with pressure as an athlete or big moments in games. You like, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I see multiple hands. And I hope you seeing these hands show this is like validating. Everybody deals with pressure. Um, and it's hard, right? It is really, really hard to be like in the moment in a game and you're like, crap, I need a score, or oh my gosh, like I need to like do this thing and people are watching. But the thing is, confidence is about staying curious under pressure. So what I mean by that but is confidence isn't just showing up when you have the answers or you know what's going to happen. It's about staying in the game when you don't. It means having the courage to remain open even when the outcome is uncertain. And at the end of the day, it's trusting yourself enough to take the leap because no matter what, you're not guaranteed to succeed, but overall, you're committed to learning either way. So when you're confident, when you are in a pressuring situation, you it's important to rely on this. It's to stay curious instead of letting the pressure get to you. Um, so yeah, okay, next slide. We're almost done with this. Okay, so this is also a graphic or a metaphor that I use with athletes that kind of describe the resilience piece of it. So this is called the learning space, and it's basically the process of not knowing and knowing something, right? Because when we are struggling with confidence, we come from a place of like not knowing something, not feeling competent, not feeling good enough, not feeling capable. We start with the lower end of not knowing. And I don't know if you guys know, this is from this concept is from Dr. Becky. She's a child psychologist, and I've used this a lot. And I'm like, I have to explain this to athletes because it resonated me so much. So with the learning space, it comes from not knowing something to knowing something, right? It's this process. And as you can see, it goes up and down, up and down. And these ups and downs represent feelings. It represents feelings of having highs and lows and mistakes and ups and downs. And that's the learning space. And in order from getting from here, the not knowing to knowing, you have to tolerate the learning space, right? Oh, Maria, someone raised her hand. You can feel free to unmute yourself or, okay, never mind. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, I
Okay.
just forgot to put my hand down from before.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So looking at the feeling space, you see these ups and downs. What are maybe some emotions that are associated with the learning space? Frustration, 100%. Confusion, doubt, self-doubt, fear, worry, anxiety. Yes, defeat, stress, anger. Exactly. Love it. So most people sent feelings that are uncomfortable feelings, right? And I think sometimes in sports, especially coaches, especially a lot of people, when we have a lot to talk, when we talk about growth mindset and resilience and yeah, growth mindset and resilience, it has such a positive, empowering connotation to it. But at the end of the day, the learning space does not feel good at all. The learning space and feeling resilient is really, really messy and super, super painful, especially as athletes, as high achieving athletes, as high achieving student athletes. We put a lot of our self-worth and who we are and our identity around the knowing piece, around being perfect all the time, right? A lot of athletes, they put their identity into this part, the end part over here. But every human being, right, in order to be confident in something, in order to grow, in order to learn, it's you have to go through these motions and tolerate the learning space. And so sometimes when we think about success, when we think about confident people, when we think about people who have it all, quote unquote, all together, we think, oh, they just know everything all the time. But in reality, successful people, they know how to tolerate the learning space. They know what to do and they know how to cope with it and know that it's okay to go through the learning space. So I think sometimes with athletes and going through life and anything too, with school, with a job, success isn't just about knowing everything. It's more about tolerating the learning space and investing in the process. And hopefully, you'll get to the knowing space sooner than, yeah, later. Okay. So next slide. Okay. So the last one is confidence comes from integrity. So this is a quote, another quote. So self-honesty is where confidence comes from. If you're not being honest with yourself and how you're presenting, there is a lack of integrity. Integrity is power, so holding that integrity means saying what you mean and meaning what you say. This is probably the biggest takeaway, my favorite takeaway, because this is why I titled the presentation Inner Confidence. And when it comes to confidence, you have to tell yourself the truth and be honest with who you are, right? I think this quote is saying that your words, your actions, your values, if they are aligned, right, then you don't have to second guess yourself in situations. You have to be honest with who you are and be yourself in situations, and you're more likely to be confident. You're more likely to be steady, grounded, and clear, because if there's a gap between who you are versus how you present, that disconnect erodes trust in yourself. And so when you operate with consistency and integrity and with your values, then confidence is more of a foundation instead of a feeling. So this is a very important takeaway. And I think it's important to be honest with yourself. And that can be really hard because sometimes when you're honest with yourself, sometimes people might not like it. Some people might not like it. It might ruffle some feathers a bit. It can be really hard. Um, so yeah, that is the last one. So next slide. We're almost done. We just have a few slides left. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you guys a quiz. After these three things, I'm going to ask you, true or false, experience does guarantee confidence. So feel free to false. Wow. Y'all are so smart. Exactly. Okay. Does anybody want to raise their hand and say why this is false, or maybe share an experience in their own sports that where they thought, okay, experience would get me confidence and it just didn't? All right, anybody?
I can share.
Yes, go ahead, Becca.
So, I've been playing field hockey since I was in kindergarten, and I still play, and all those years of experience hasn't guaranteed that confidence. Like, I still struggle with my confidence a lot. So, even though I've been playing for like from such like a young age, even now I still struggle with confidence. Like, it's not guaranteed.
100%. Yes. So exactly. You have been doing your sport since you're in kindergarten, and at the end of the day, experience does not guarantee confidence. That's a wonderful example. Okay, Maddie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So I'm a swimmer, and one thing that I had to learn with gaining confidence, especially since it's like so mental, any sport is, I learned that even through my wins, I didn't actually gain the confidence. It was through my failures. But through the
Mm.
wins, I thought those experiences were going to give me that confidence that I needed, but in end, it didn't. So.
That's really interesting. So it wasn't the wins, it was actually the failures that made you more confident. What about the failures gave you that confidence? What?
The failures told me it showed me how to be more honest with myself and kind of just didn't give me any other option than to look at like you need to change this or change the way that you're thinking and view your sport in a different way, especially with identity, because when you're failing and all your identities in your sport, like it really like, you have no other option than to look at that. So that's how I learned through those experiences. But
Thank you for sharing, Maddie. I think that's so true. And sometimes, like, again, like going back to the learning space, you kind of have to go through the failures to learn and to get better and to know what you need to improve on. Okay, I will ask one more, so we have more time. Let's go with Leia Fish.
Yeah, I do competitive dance, and I think even how many times like I compete or like go on stage, like I still feel nervous and like I still like get like, oh my God, like what if I mess up? And I think that just like comes with like going on stage and like competing, like you're like ultimately like after I do a routine, like I feel more confident after I complete it than like before.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, even though you've practiced and you've worked and you're about to go on stage, it's like you're still gonna feel nervous, even though you may have experience with it. So yes, this is 100% false. Karen, like experience does help with confidence. Like you obviously have to be prepared, but it does not guarantee it. I worked with a basketball player who would practice a shot thousands and thousands of times in practice, but somehow in games could not do it. Like really struggled. And so that's another example right there is that even if you do something a thousand times in yourself, with your self talk or in situations, it can be really hard. So, I think confidence is it's a mental piece as well. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so this is a great tool if you are struggling in this aspect. So this is called the confidence competence loop, and this is a tool that I even use for myself today. Um, so the confidence competence loops, so it can be used when you are either not feeling confident or when you're not feeling competent. Okay. And it's kind of when you need it, when you don't feel, when it feels like things are not going well. And so again, um, for the competence piece, so when nothing seems going well, and if you're not feeling competent, so competent means like, I've never done this before. Oh my gosh, I'm going to my first practice with the varsity team, like kind of more like a new experience. I don't feel as competent. That's different. Like this is something I'm working on. Then you rely on your confidence. So this is like meaning this is kind of what it sounds like, okay, this is a new thing, but I got this. I know that experience doesn't guarantee confidence or one rep at a time. You rely on the mindset piece, right? And it goes back on the other way. If you don't feel confident, right? So I can't do this. I don't know if I can score. Oh my gosh. Then you rely on your competence, which sounds like, Monica, I have practiced all week for this. Monica, I am prepared. I deserve to be on this spot. I trust myself. I put in the work. And so, what's beautiful about this tool is that one feeds off each other. One is there for you no matter what. And so, feel free to write this like little swivel on your piece of paper, and it kind of is there for you no matter what. But the thing is, this thing doesn't work if you are invested in working on both, right? You got to be invested in working on the competence piece, and you got to be invested in working on the mindset piece. And I think this is the overall message, that confidence is the feeding off of the mindset and the experience piece. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now we are going to go into factors that lower confidence. Any guesses of maybe some factors that lower confidence? Bad outcomes, failure, injuries, setbacks, stuff out of your control, making mistakes, 100%, people's comments, injuries. Yeah, exactly. Y'all are already guessing. You guys know my presentation. Yeah, so it's all those things. So next slide, please. So here are some factors that lower confidence. So number one, we've been talking about is negative self-talk and doubt. Number two, lots of pressure. So if you put a lot of pressure on yourself, the more you're likely going to underperform. But sometimes some pressure is good, right? It's the flow state. I don't know if we talked about flow state, but sometimes I played my best games where I wasn't calm at all. But if you put way too much pressure on yourself, then you're more likely to underperform. Number three is comparing yourself to other people. This is huge, right? The only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself. Am I showing up better than I was yesterday? Or am I showing up better than I was a year ago? Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone who's better, who's worse, So it's like it's no, the best athletes in the world, they stay in their lanes and they focus on improving themselves. Um Number four is really huge. It's low social connection. So it's really, even though confidence comes within, I think it's really important to have a strong support system with your team, with your family members, with your friends, because when sometimes like when you're really struggling, it is really hard to have that positive self-talk. And so this is where leaning on to your support system can really help you get there. So I think number four, low connection, is a huge one. Number five is sticking to a narrative from your past. So for example, if you have a narrative in your past saying like, I suck at free shooting, if you stick to that narrative, then it's going to come true, right? And instead of being like, you know what, I'm struggling with this certain part of my sport, but I'm trying to work on it, or I'm doing X, Y, and Z. So sticking a narrative from your past, that's a huge one as well that lowers confidence. Number six is attaching all your worth to performance and external validation. So this means attaching all your self-worth to winning, the outcomes, attaching all your self-worth to what people think about you, what your coaches think, what your parents think. If you do that, here's the thing, it's conditional, right? Confidence is also being stable, even during the lows, even during when things do not go right all the time. And number seven, which we talked about, is not being true to yourself or to your own values. I mean, it's hard to be confident when you're not yourself. When you are yourself, it's more organic. Okay, next slide. We're almost done. Okay, So here are some tools that you guys could do to help with confidence every day. And so as you're looking at this, feel free to write down some of these things that maybe you can use, if you're ever feeling low in confidence. So number one is awareness of self-talk. So awareness of self-talk it just sounds like being mindful of the thoughts that are coming through your brain and not judging it as good or bad. So just being like, okay, what thoughts am I telling myself, detaching from your thoughts, and just kind of being mindful, just being aware of what type of self-talk you're having. Identifying some affirmation or phrases. So going back to the confidence competence loops, like maybe having some certain affirmations for confident situations or competent situations. Those are two things. Number three is using controllable sources to build confidence. When we feel out of control, that's when the panic sets in. That's when the anxiety sets in. That's where the uncertainty feels. And then when you feel uncertain, then you're going to be like, how can I be confident? And so using controllable sources, that's going to really help. Like, okay, I can control my mindset. I can control my self-talk. I can control um how hard I worked, right? I can control how I can respond to mistakes. So focusing on those things, um, not comparing yourself to other people, leaning on internal validation, not external, using failure and a struggle as a part of a learning experience. So let's say worst case scenario, you didn't make the shot or you made a mistake. Okay, how can you learn from that? Letting your ego down, having humility, knowing what you need to work on, doing some mindfulness, having a clear vision of what you want, having gratitude. And then here is like the 3 M's. This is a tool that I used a lot in college. So the 3 M's is every day I do 10 minutes of each. So I do 10 minutes of mindfulness, which is like just being in the present moment, doing meditation, walking around, listening to music, just like taking 10 minutes of letting my thoughts just like take a break and just being in the moment. 10 minutes of motivation, which means like watching a video of an athlete that really inspired me, talking to a person that really, really motivates me, listening to a podcast, inspirational quotes, 10 minutes of motivation, and then 10 minutes of movement. You guys are athletes, so you guys probably move a lot already, but maybe more like mindful movement, like stretching, like going into the ice bath, like kind of more of like nurturing movements for you. So those are some tools you can do more. And then the last slide is so I want you to look back on the things that you wrote down that you said you want to improve on in confidence. And I want you to pick one thing. Like, okay, what is one thing that maybe that you struggle with the most, or maybe you want to work on or reflect more this week? And I want you to look at that thing and I want you to ask yourself, what is preventing you from at least working on that piece of being confident or being confident in that area? And what are the factors from before are contributing to that? So looking back on the factors that lower confidence, maybe what are some things that are making it really hard to be confident and being aware of where that comes from. And then writing down, okay, how can you reframe it? Sometimes you need to be self-compassionate. Do you need to view it as a learning process? Do you need to view it as fuel? So how can we reframe it? And then now is the last step is what can you do in your control? So going over the tools I talked about, okay, do I need to focus on preparing on that certain skill? Do I need to work on self-talk, belief, my values, etc. So yeah, I'll leave this up for a bit. But that was the last slide. Um, I want to thank you all for, yeah, feel free to share, put the next slide. Um, but that were all the slides, and I want to say thank you all so much for joining me, listening, engaging, sending messages in the chat. I hope you took away one thing. I know I spewed lots of information towards you. If you want to connect with me or ask me questions or need any more information, please follow me on Instagram, tag me, keep me posted what you're doing. You guys are all amazing. You know, being an athlete is so, so hard, but you showing up tonight shows you are committed in improving your confidence journey. So I want to thank you all so, so much. But yeah, Kelsey, do we have time for questions or how are we doing on
Yeah,
time?
thank you so much. That was amazing. And also, if you didn't have a chance, I'm going to stop share so we can do some questions, but I can also share this with everyone when we hop off. We have time for maybe one or two quick questions if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a quick question. And also, like Monica said, I would encourage you to reach out to her with questions. She's a great resource and we're really lucky to have her. So if you have questions that we don't get to tonight, yeah, Elizabeth?
Hi, so I do a team sport and last year I was injured, so I kind of saw it from a different perspective, and now I'm back for my 5th year, which is super exciting. But what I saw like the most is like a lot of us are confident in ourselves and we feel like good with our abilities and everything, but how can you transfer that confidence over through like a team setting? Like everybody's very confident in what they do, and I know some other people might struggle with this. But especially, I do acrobatics and tumbling, so we rely on each other a lot. So having confidence in one another is where we struggle. So anything you have on that would be awesome.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing, like confidence is really hard in team sports because, you know, a lot of experience that I've had, especially in water polo, it's like, oh my gosh, if I make a mistake, then I'm not just messing myself for the sake of my own performance, but the team performance. And so I think, you know, when we talk about like having confidence, I think having like team meetings and team conversations and being really specific on what confidence looks like and kind of approaching confidence the same way as you approach like shooting a ball or working on a set. It's like, okay, what can we think about confidence in a way we can control and come together as a team? And I think supporting each other, I think again, like working really hard, investing in the process is huge and making sure your team is committed to that, but also like lifting each other up and being positive and supportive towards each other. So yeah,
Thank you.
question. Yeah, of course.
All right, Maria, why don't you finish us off one more question?
So I'm a competitive swimmer and I had a really tough season last year. And I was just wondering, like, how do you get out of that like negative narrative that you like build for yourself? Because I find that like even though like it's a new year and like a new season, like I still feel like less confident just because of the season I had last year.
Yeah, you know, swimming, I work with lots of swimmers, and swimming is a really, really hard sport because, like, I've heard lots of swimmers who've kind of gone into the slump, and even though it's like, I just need to break 1 second, it can take so much effort to just break a second or kind of, and it feels like with swimming it does feel like the failures feel a lot bigger versus like other sports, like you could kind of be like, okay, I did well in this aspect and that aspect, but in swimming it's like it's such a hard mental sport. I think when it comes to that, like reminding yourself of the little wins you have. So, you know, no matter, like, for example, if you're really scared or anxious about a swim meet or result, it's like, okay, what are the wins that I can do throughout practice, or how have I been committing to myself through practice? And I think sometimes we have to focus on like the little wins sometimes when we haven't gotten to the big achievements yet. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I will send a recap with Monica's contact info. And yeah, I'll stop the recording here.